his marvelous book, The Social Leap. Robert Wright's Non-Zero does a better job of describing the evolution of a win-win society. And John Gray has thought much more deeply about the philosophical implications in his book, The Silence of Animals. All deserve a careful reading. This book was supposed to be merely a collection of insights, observations, and playful guesses from someone who is trying to connect the dots, sometimes right, sometimes wrong, and always in doubt. But what has emerged is something that has turned out to be more serious and less funny than I expected. The comedy is there, but there is something else, too. The same capacity for myth-making that makes public life such a hoot is also what makes civilization possible. As we will discuss, the public space, where civilization takes place, is a world that can only exist if people are willing and able to imagine things that don't exist, believe things that aren't provably true, and do things that don't really make sense for them, individually, in any conscious, immediate, or logical way. Why else, in 1812, would 700,000 Frenchmen and their allies give up their wine and sausages, forego the warm, late summer sun on the Seine and Rhine, and say goodbye to the coquettish smiles of their Fille and Fräulein so they could join Emperor Napoleon's war, tromp 1,000 miles across the barren steppe to freeze their derrieres off in a fight to the death with barbarous Cossacks? Why else would Americans spend $7 trillion to fight a war on terror when there is statistically less chance of coming to grief at the hands of a terrorist than of choking to death on a filet mignon? Why else would people believe that Pharaoh was a god, that alcohol should be outlawed in 20th century America, or that educated Cambodians should be forced to move to rural villages where they could learn to be subsistence farmers? These ideas are called memes by technologically inclined authors. Richard Dawkins, for example, suggests they are very much like viruses that seek only to replicate themselves in the fertile mush of our minds. Once there, they direct our thoughts and behavior. Given that I have trouble turning on a television, I prefer to call them myths, an older word that fits more elegantly into my more literary approach. As we go on, we will also see that Dawkins's meme concept is not really suited to our hypothesis anyway. Our desire to do win-win deals with one another doesn't come from a meme that has somehow found a home in our brains. More likely, the success of win-win deals caused the brain to invent a myth, or a meme, to help make sense of it. This is not meant to diminish the power of the idea, of course. Wherever it comes from, once an idea is anchored in the public space, it tends to shape our other ideas, and our conduct too. Many people, for example, think democracy is the worst form of government except for all the others. This could be the result of observation, or a successful meme, or a myth, invented to protect us from other less successful forms of government. But we don't know whether a democracy is better. Its virtues cannot be tested. No one even knows what it means. Better can mean almost anything. For the concept to have any meaning at all, you have to know what democratic government is, too. And that is another compound abstraction given life by our imaginations. In other words, government, along with every other thing of importance in the public space, is dependent on shared myths. Not necessarily true or false, good or bad, these myths are multi-layered, complex, and fluid. They give rise not merely to the form of government you choose, but, at some level, to the existence of government itself. You can find many proofs of government in elections, police, wars, taxes. You can go to Washington and see government buildings and meet people who are paid to work for the government. You can get a check from the government. You can get very mad at the government. You can get put in jail by the government or killed by it. But governments would disappear immediately if we stopped believing in them. And you can't see the government